Welcome to Leadership Speak, an advanced Toastmaster club for leadership development. We are one of the top five clubs globally. I am Nicole White, your Sergeant of Arms for the meeting. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. That's our mission. Leadership Speak is the premier club for experienced Toastmasters to become better self-directed leaders. We are an advanced club focused primarily on leadership development in everything we do. Our timer has virtual hand raise, so we all can see who is keeping the time. Our Toastmaster of the day would lead our meeting is Baron Ochola Oematum, a versatile public speaker, marketing and communications professional, and leadership trainer based in Uganda. With a strong background in branding, content creation, and strategic communication, he brings a dynamic blend of creativity and clarity to every platform he engages with. Baron has held leadership roles in several professional and volunteer-based organizations, where he has led initiatives in public relations, youth mentorship, and event coordination. His work spans across sectors, supporting growth through effective messaging, stakeholder engagement, and capacity building. Whether facilitating a workshop, addressing a conference, or mentoring emerging leaders, Baron's speaking style is engaging, insightful, and purpose-driven. His expertise lies in simplifying complex ideas, sparking meaningful conversations, and inspiring action. His core speaking areas are marketing and communication strategy, personal leadership and development, public speaking and presentation skills, youth engagement and mentorship, digital communication, and branding. Baron continues to contribute to a culture of leadership, learning, and innovation through every talk he delivers. Please help me welcome your Toastmaster of the day, Baron Ochola Oematum.
Thank you, Sergeant at Arms Toastmaster Nicole. A round of applause to Toastmaster Nicole for the wonderful introduction. I'm delighted to see everybody here, especially because by the time we had about 5 people in the room, we had almost every continent in the world represented. We had Australia in the room, we had Canada in the room, we had London in the room, we had Malawi in the room, and we had Uganda in the room. So that is where I'm joining you from today. And I'm delighted that everybody is here with us from the different parts of the world that we are in. So as we get started, feel free to bask in that glory, in the fact that we get to venture out. And you'll see with some of the Toastmasters as I introduce them, that they have made it a point to visit other parts of the world, venture and see what is there, enjoy other cultures. And that is what our experience is about. I have no doubt that in this room, we all are leaders. At least that's why we are here. Nobody was drugged here, right? Nobody was drugged here, but rather everybody took an intentional action to say, hey, let me go and be part of the Leadership Speak meeting. And that in itself is responsibility. The thing about responsibility is we often stop at face value. What do I mean by this? What does the word responsibility mean to you? Perhaps if I could open it up to all of us, just in the chat, just put what responsibility, and by that, I don't mean the meaning of responsibility, I mean from the word itself. Could you break it down? Let's put it in the chat as I expound on my thinking of it. The ability to respond, perfect, Nikhita. My thinking of responsibility takes me back to etymology. right? The study of the word itself, and that is responsibility. Your ability to respond. That is it right there. And today our conversation is going to center around that, your ability to respond as a leader, but more than your ability to respond, how much, if responsibility were to be measured the same way we measure IQ, EQ, and all other quotients, how much responsibility do you have as a leader? And what difference does it make that you be conscious about your response? Responsibility is not just about, rather it is about values over emotions. It is about order over chaos, and it is about action over apathy, over sitting down and saying, that situation, somebody else will come and solve it. As leaders, that is where our power is. Looking at a situation and saying, what can be done about it? Let me do something about it. I might not be able to do something about it, but I know who might be able to do something about it. In any situation, there is something we can do about it. And that brings us to the theme. What inspired me about this theme is my favorite book, which is, for anybody who knows Viktor Frankl, we are in the same place. My favorite book, which is Man's Search for Meaning. And from that book, the key idea that Viktor Frankl, who is one of the biggest names in philosophy, along with Sigmund Freud, Alfred Adler, and Carl Jung, his idea was, your power is in your ability to respond. And that is the last human freedom. It can't be taken away from you. So as leaders, how do we choose to respond? That is the question we seek to answer today. And as we go on through the meeting, as we have our leadership speaker expound on it, we shall break it down. Now, I want to have a conversation with our guests. So if you're a guest, here is my message to you. Leadership Speak is, like you heard our Sergeant at Arms say, a top club with members from right here, this side, 30 countries. More than 50 members from 30 countries, all of them advanced speakers, advanced leaders, with a common space in which we grow, in which we get to nurture each other, in which we get to connect and learn from each other. That is what Leadership Speak is. In the chat, we are going to have a guest book posted. In this guest book, you will have the opportunity right there. Our VPM, Leah Musunga, has shared it. That guest book is where you as a guest can put in your name, put in your information, let us know if you would like to join the club right now, if you would like to join next year. Perhaps you're not yet at level 3, which is what is required for you to join the club. That is the grand opportunity for us to be able to have more interaction with you beyond the meeting. With that being said, I wear very many hats today, and that's why I have the wide smile on my face. I get the pleasure to do this. I wear very many hats today. Our toast speaker was not able to make it today because of a specific reason, health reason, which gave me the pleasure of being in the position to raise the toast. So timer and everybody, here we go. I see a few people already taking their drinks. Let's just hold on a bit until I call on us to raise the toast. In a space such as the one we are in, we get to experience a lot of leadership. And in your first year understanding leadership, for some it might be 10 years ago, for some it might be my lifetime ago for you, perhaps 30 years, 50 years. But in your first year of hearing about leadership, the conversation was around the definitions of leadership. This is what leadership means. This is what integrity is. This is how you should be as a quality leader. And this is this, and this is that. Today, we are having a more advanced conversation on leadership, and that is the responsibility of a leader. Which means that we get to drill down more on this topic, we get to understand it more, but more than that, we get to celebrate the fact that we have come so far in our journeys as leaders. We are not just defining leadership anymore. We are having that conversation of how can we create an impact intentionally? How can we connect better? How can we as leaders have our power in our hand and embody, when it's said the world is your oyster, how can you actually have that world in your hand and mold it and make a difference and leave a legacy that lasts and that means something? That is what I would like to toast to. The opportunity that we are present for this, the opportunity that we have come this far, we are not at the start of it, and the fact that we are still growing and have a long way to go, but we are present for it. We know where we are going. We know what this is. We understand what it is. And just about nothing new will be said to us because we know that as leaders, we have to have a responsibility and we are here to witness it. So that is what I would like to invite all of you, if you would raise your glasses, I would like to invite all of you to raise a toast, and the toast we are going to raise is to responsibility. So please unmute yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, as we raise a toast to responsibility.
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 For response
Responsibility.
As you can see, I'm enjoying my
responsibility.
Thank you so much. As you can see, I'm enjoying my toast from a Toastmasters cup that says 100 years, which is a very profound reminder of exactly where we are. Ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters and guests, with that being said, allow me to call on the tag team, the dream team of this meeting, and that is going to start with our timer of the day. Our timer, who will keep their virtual hand raised the entire meeting for the speakers to easily see them, is Toastmaster Jyoti Thomas. Toastmaster Jyoti is a pillar in leadership speak, especially in the process in which we prepare for the meeting with the Toastmaster of the day and the theme. And now I would like to hand over to her to share with us the timing protocols of today's meeting.
Thank you very much. And as you heard, my name is Jyoti Thomas, and I'm the timer for today. Welcome to all our lovely Toastmasters and the distinguished guests. I shall time each speech according to the time given on the agenda. After each session, I will post the time they have taken on the chat box. I will be flashing the cards as per the time given: green, yellow, red. I will post the detailed report when called upon at the end of the day. Thank you. Over to the Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jyoti. With that being said, we shall segue to our grammarian, Toastmaster Guerdah Almajakish. Toastmaster Guerdah, over to you.
Hello, fellow Toastmaster. My name is Guerdah from Canada. I'll be the grammarian today. I'll comment on the positive usage of English and also write down who used and how many times he using the word of the day, which is integrity. Integrity is a noun. The meaning is the quality of being honest and having strong morals, principles, doing the right things, even when no one is watching. Example of integrity: a true leader respect the, I'll be there, respect, sorry, because I need to see, excuse me. Respect the, a true leader respect the integrity and honest in their interaction, despite the pressure. She maintained integrity and refused to compromise her values. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Guerdah. Integrity is our word of the day, and it's one non-negotiable for all responsible leaders. Now, I will segue between responsible and responsibility, but it's a non-negotiable once again. Leaders who have responsibility have high levels of emotional intelligence. Why is that? Because it takes a lot for you to first have empathy with the situation, to study it, to care enough to look at it cleanly and say, this is what can be done about this, and this is what can be done about that. But my job today is not to expound that much on the theme, because that is what in Leadership Speak we have the Leadership Education Speaker for. Our Leadership Education Speaker is Toastmaster Shanicia Bellamy, and today she's going to expound on us on how we can get out of our comfort zones and hone in on our responsibility. Toastmaster Shanicia. Evaluating Toastmaster Shanicia is Toastmaster Guerdah, Felix, who said, as leaders, we have to be conscious about our responsibility because it dictates the way in which we move forward. Over to you to share the objectives of Toastmaster Shanicia.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. The purpose of Shanicia's project is for her to practice developing and presenting a longer speech. Looking forward to hear your speech today. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Could you, while you're still here, Toastmaster Guerdah, just share one or two things that you'll be looking out for in her speech?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. We had a beautiful conversation, and I will, of course, look for pauses, vocal variety, and how Toastmaster Bellamy connect with the audience. Back to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Guerdah. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Toastmaster Shanicia Bellamy with a speech titled The Responsibility of a Leader. The Responsibility of a Leader, Shanicia Bellamy.
We may not always be able to control what comes our way, but we can control how we respond to it. Toastmasters and friends, today we are going to explore how responsibility shapes our leadership journeys, how my ability to respond led to remarkable growth, and how you too can harness this power for your professional and personal development. I invite you on this journey to that defining moment for me 6 years ago when I visited my first Toastmasters meeting. I was invited to that meeting by a friend who was a member at the time. She gave a brief overview of what to expect, and naturally, I was intrigued. One fateful Thursday, I stepped into my first meeting, completely unaware that I was about to face one of the most nerve-wracking moments of my life. The room was buzzing with energy, and I was completely engrossed in all the insights and the prepared speeches that were being shared. Man, I was having a ball. Then, out of nowhere, I heard, Shanicia, would you like to tackle a table topics question? Can you imagine? My first Toastmasters meeting, and they are calling on me to do what? My little heart almost jumped out of my chest. I completely froze. was once an exciting meeting suddenly felt like a spotlight was being shined on all of my fears and insecurities. It was as if I was glued to my seat, unable to speak or stand. The round of applause I got from the audience slowly worked that gloom away, and I finally mustered up the courage to stand and approach the lectern. While up there, my mind did not hesitate to program. I was at a complete loss, unable to articulate a simple response to the most straightforward question. After what felt like forever, I returned to my seat, completely embarrassed, and just wished that the ground could open up and take me out of my misery. It was one of the most uncomfortable, vulnerable moments of my life. And it later turned into one that was most powerful. Looking back, that wasn't just a moment of fear for me. It was a moment of truth. It was the moment I realized I had a choice on how to respond. On one hand, I could have run back into the cocoon from whence I came, or I could embrace this growth opportunity that was present. I could run from the discomfort I was feeling, or on the other hand, I can grow through it. I could react, or I can respond. And that's where leadership begins. It's not always about being comfortable. It's not always about being ready. In fact, it's about how you respond. And that is what responsibility of a leader truly is. Not responsibility. While that is important, today we will focus on the responsibility of a leader. Responsibility is the ability to pause, to reflect, and to choose how you respond, even under pressure. It's what separates self-directed leaders from reactive ones. It's what separates those who lead with intention from those who merely react as life comes their way. It is what transforms a breakdown from a breakthrough. That moment at the lectern for me, I felt the most exposed. I didn't know it at that time, but I was facing a lesson that I would return to again and again on stage, in meetings, and especially in my life. When we are under stress or caught off guard, it is easy to respond from a place of fear, from ego, or even from habit. That is the default setting for most of us, especially when we are unaware of it. Yes, I said us because I am guilty of this sometimes. But as self-directed leaders, we do not operate on default. Instead, we operate on clarity. We know what matters most. We operate on calm, choosing presence over panic. And lastly, we operate from a place of conviction, being mindful of being guided by purpose and not pressure. That there is the difference. Reactive leadership is emotional, while self-directed, responsive leaders are intentional. And with that intention, we begin with self-awareness. That moment for me could have defined me as someone who avoids responsibility altogether. But instead, it became the first page of a new story in my life. That story begins with something we do not often associate with leadership, and that is self-awareness. We often think of leadership as leading others, but the truth is, how can we lead others if we are unable to lead ourselves? Self-directed leadership starts with that same self-awareness, the ability to observe ourselves honestly and compassionately. For me, on that day, I became painfully aware of how terrified I was of being seen, of speaking, of failing in public. But that awareness gave me a choice. I could let fear be in the driving seat, or I can take the wheel and steer with intention. Self-awareness isn't always about being comfortable, but it's where transformation begins. It's the mirror we must look into if we want to grow. And that brings us back to responsibility. Let's take a moment to explore the difference between reacting and responding. When we react, we are emotion-driven. But when we respond, we are value-driven. When we react, we're impulsive. But when we respond, we are intentional. When we react, it's all based on fear or ego. But when we respond, it is based on clarity and calm. When we react, it is often regretting. But when we respond, it is often respected. Most people react, and few pause long enough to respond. The moment my name was called, my reaction was fear. But my response was courage, as I eventually stood and approached that victor. While I did not have my best moment up there, I was able to respond with courage. From that decision, I began a journey, not just as a speaker, but that of a leader. True leadership isn't about always knowing the right thing to say. It's about choosing the right way to show up, even when you are uncertain. After that fraught first meeting experience, I decided I needed to be a part of this now more than ever. I took that bold step. I decided to become a member of that club. Not because I felt ready, but because I was certain I was not. Week by week, I said yes to the things that terrified me. Table topics, meeting rules, prepared speeches, even to taking on club officer positions. I didn't always get it right. I did not always feel confident. But every time I responded and said yes, I grew a little. And that growth was not about being fearless. It was about being responsible. What I learned along the way is this: leadership requires vulnerability. Vulnerability does not mean weakness, it means courage. The courage to step into those uncomfortable moments, knowing that growth only happens when we embrace discomfort. Many people avoid vulnerability because they fear judgment or failure. But leaders understand that vulnerability is what makes us authentic and relatable. I could recall standing before an audience to give my first speech in Toastmasters, the great icebreaker. My legs shook, my hands were trembling, and my heart, once again, was racing, wanting to jump out of my chest. I wanted to run. I wanted to hide. But I did not. I stood there, feeling vulnerable, and chose to respond with courage. And that choice shifted something inside of me. It made me realize that every leader, no matter how experienced, must face those uncomfortable moments. And it is how we respond in those moments that determines our success. Now, I'm hoping at this point you're thinking, That's all inspiring. It's all fascinating, but how do I actually build my responsibility? And I'm happy that you asked, because I'm happy to share 3 practical, repeatable strategies that you can use in your own life to respond and not react when it matters most. The first one, practice the pause. Reacting is instant, but responding requires space. When something triggers you, whether it's a criticism, a conflict, or chaos, create a moment of space between that trigger and that response. A simple tool you can use to achieve this is the 3-second rule. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Take a breath. Let that wave of emotion pass. That small pause gives your thinking brain time to catch up with your feeling brain, and it allows you to shift from an emotional reaction to an intentional response. Always remember, between your trigger and your response, there is a space. And in that space lies your freedom. Reactive leaders respond from emotion, but responsive, self-directed leaders respond from intention. Tip number 2, build your responsibility in low-stakes situations. You don't need a crisis to start practicing leadership. Everyday frustrations are practice rounds for when those high-stakes situations present themselves. Next time someone cuts you off in traffic or you're stuck in the long line at the bank, you can use it to build your pause muscle. Use those opportunities as practice to stay calm and to choose how you respond. The next time you're annoyed, you can try saying, "This is a great moment to practice grace." Always remember, if you can respond calmly to the small stuff, you're training yourself well for when the big stuff inevitably comes. Lastly, the 3rd tip, anchor yourself in core values. When you are clear on what matters to you, your responses become consistent, even when you are under stress. Write down 3 to 5 core values that guide you. For example, integrity, courage, respect, compassion, etc. And when you're facing pressure, use them as a compass. Before responding, you can ask yourself, which of my values will guide me right now? Always remember, emotion is powerful, but values are grounding, and they are the anchor that will keep you steady in rough seas. As I began practicing these same habits in my life, I noticed real-time changes. I no longer spiraled after a tough meeting. I was able to reflect instead. I could speak without my voice shaking on most days. I no longer waited to feel confident. I got up and I acted anyway. I stopped being defined by fear and started being driven by purpose. I even returned to table topics. Yes, the very same thing that had me questioning my existence. And guess what? I participated in the table topics contest. Did I win? No. But did I grow? Immensely. Growth became the goal, not perfection. And that shift made all the difference. As I continued to grow, I naturally began to lead others. First, informally through club roles, and then I moved on to mentor new members. I encouraged guests, and I worked hard to create a safe space for people to speak, just like others once did for me. In that moment, I learned something powerful. Leadership is not always about being the best speaker. It's about helping others find their voice as well. That's what responsibility is also about. Not just making your own path, but helping others to walk theirs as well. You may not be where you want to be just yet. You may still be afraid of speaking, of leading, or making those bold moves. And that's okay, because every step you take in discomfort is a step towards your growth. And every uncomfortable moment is an invitation to grow, to pause, and to choose your response. This is how self-directed leaders are formed, not in the easy moments, but in the hard ones. Leadership does not require perfection. Instead, it requires presence. Self-directed leadership does not come from waiting until you feel ready. It comes from choosing to lead yourself right where you are. It comes from self-awareness, from values, and from the quiet courage to pause and to respond. As I wrap up, I want to remind you, Toastmasters and friends, that the story you are writing is not about being fearless. It's not about being perfect. Instead, it is about being faithful to your growth. May your journey be full of uncomfortable moments, not because they are pleasant, but because they are powerful and filled with many growth opportunities. May you always remember, the responsibility of a leader is not about control. It is about choice. The choice to pause, to reflect, and to respond with clarity, calm, and conviction. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster today.
Now we can see why I was not the person to speak more into this thing, because we had somebody who was specialized for it. Toastmaster Shanicia, a job well done as far as helping us understand responsibility much better. Like you have said, just to echo your words, purpose over pressure, presence over perfection, essence over ego. I'll repeat that. Essence over ego. And finally, making sure that we put front and center clarity, calm, and conviction. Because it is in our ability to respond that we get to choose how we respond, what we respond to, why in the first place we should respond to that. It is where our power is, it is where the difference that we make is. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we have way more for you. You're in for a treat today. And our very proactive and responsible and with high levels of responsibility, Vice President of Membership has already shared the guest form. So this is another alert, another commercial break for the guests to take a second, take a minute, just click on that link and input your details, and you will have the utmost attention of Leadership Schmidt. We get the chance to witness a panel discussion. A panel discussion from a semi-finalist in the World Championships of Public Speaking in 2023. A distinguished member of Leadership Speak, and that is Nikhita Winkler. Nikhita is bringing to us today's panel discussion with the very essence of making sure that we not just get closer to her journey, while she was participating in the contests in 2013. But we as contestants, especially those who are currently contesting, are inspired, right? Let's get this right. We as contestants are inspired, feel supported, and get the opportunity to reflect while we are on that journey. The panel discussion is about how champions progress from club speeches to contests, mastery, and all through personal stories. Evaluating Toastmaster Nikhita's panel discussion is Toastmaster Elena Constantinou, an award-winning speaker in her own right. About the theme, she said, "You can't escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today." In short, it's a non-negotiable. Over to you, Toastmaster Elena.
Thank you. What an honor to be supporting Toastmaster Nikhita in this journey. She's on a presentation mastery path, level 5, moderate a panel discussion. The purpose of this project is for Nikhita to apply her skills as a public speaker and leader to facilitate a panel discussion. In addition to the project goals, she has asked me to particularly observe how she listens and responds in the moment and how she engages both the panelists and the audience in the overall flow and tone of the discussion. In addition, I will consider the choices she's made leading up to this event, such as the selection of panelists, the topic, and the way she has prepared the entire club for this conversation. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Nikhita. Over to you, Baro.
Toastmasters and guests, ladies and gentlemen, let us together welcome Nikhita Winkler, a champion's path from club speeches to contest mastery. A champion's path from club speeches to contest mastery, Toastmaster Nikhita Winkler.
Thank you, Toastmaster Baron. Welcome to A Champion's Path, everyone present here today. We are joined by an incredible panel of seasoned speech competitors they've navigated the highs, the hurdles, and the transformation that comes with stepping onto the world championship stage. So our goal here today is to unpack the deeper journey behind the scenes, how champions are made, how speeches evolve, and what it takes, not just to win a trophy, but to win personal mastery. So my name, as you have heard, is Nikhita Winkler. I am your moderator, semi-finalist of the World Championship 2023. I am from Namibia, currently living in Spain. And when I competed, I represented Leadership Speak District 86, which is in Canada. So how incredible. Yes, I am a global citizen. I'm also a cosmic dancer, a somatic embodiment coach, and a Toastmaster since 2019. So we do have a powerhouse panelist, and our guests are representing every stage of excellence. I present to you right now our esteemed panelists. First, I would like to present Toastmaster Luisa Montalvo, a Texas retiree from District 55. And we all know she won her speech, 37 Strangers, which is a tale of a near-death experience. She is the first Hispanic to win this competition. And it wasn't her first time competing. In 2019, Luisa competed and placed second. She has been a Toastmaster since 1989. But she stopped for a while and then rejoined in 2013. Luisa loves saving animals and making new friends while giving inspiring speeches, but most of all, she strives to make a mother proud. And today I want to say, Luisa, you have not just made your mother proud, you have made so many other communities proud. So please, everyone, join me. You can unmute your microphones and let's welcome the world champion 2024 Toastmaster Luisa Montalvo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. Is this your first time at Leadership Speak?
In a leadership, yes, it's usually about other topics related to contests. But leadership, this is new to me. And since I'm no longer able to compete, I guess this is the next path for me in Toastmasters. It will be leadership. I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
We hope you enjoy our club meeting today. And please, you're always welcome here. This is the club for leaders. I want to know, Luisa, how often did you attempt the speech contest before you tasted victory? How many times did you compete before you tasted victory?
I do know I have lost over 40 contests. And when you lose a contest, you usually walk away taking it personally. And that's a mistake. Don't take the loss personally. Take it as an opportunity to grow, to learn from whatever happened. Because when we lose, the first thing we say is, what did I do wrong? Why didn't I win? It's not what did you do wrong. Let me give you an example. If I put a piece of chocolate cake in front of you and I have a piece of chocolate cake in front of me, well, guess what? I love chocolate cake. I am going to get all that chocolate cake. And you're like, I don't like chocolate cake, so you're not going to eat it. It doesn't mean that something was wrong with the chocolate cake. You just didn't like it. And it's the same with a contest when you're competing. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's just that the judges didn't like it. So losing 40 contests, you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, go back home, reinvent yourself, rewrite a speech, and then just hope that the next time that you compete, something is different to where the judges actually will like it. That's all it is.
Thank you so much for that insight. We will continue the conversation after I have introduced the rest of our panelists. Keep in mind, it's not what you did wrong. It never is about what you do wrong. Perhaps it is what lessons you need to learn. All right, so I don't know if Toastmaster Anjali Raven-Fitch is here.
Not yet.
No,
Not
yes,
yet.
yes, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Oh, you can breathe.
Luisa. Hi, everybody. I'm here.
Yay!
Hi.
You can breathe. Let me introduce you. So our Toastmaster Anjali Raven-Fitch, Anjali, she joined Toastmasters in January 2023. 2023. I'm just highlighting that because in 2024, she was third place in the championship with her speech replaced by Sophia, a lesson about the irreplaceable human voice in the world of artificial intelligence. So she's joining us today, I believe, from San Francisco, and she is deeply passionate about the transformative power of storytelling and values the supportive, growth-focused community that Toastmasters has to offer. But Anjali is also a lawyer, a children's book author, and a very popular voice actor. So everybody, please unmute your microphones and join me as we welcome our third place winner, Toastmaster Anjali.
I love when you do that, Nikhita. Good morning. It's good morning over here. Hi, Luisa.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Good to see you again.
You too.
Is this your first time at Leadership Speak?
Yes, it is.
Welcome. We hope you enjoy the club meeting today.
I have been enjoying it.
So we're very excited to have you joining us today. And I have a question just before we get started. So with so many of us using AI tools like ChatGPT, speech editors, writing assistants in our daily lives, and even in preparing speeches today. How do you think we can take advantage of these technologies, but without losing the authenticity and the emotional connection that makes our voice truly human?
Well, I use AI every day. I use AI as a thought partner. It's not an oracle that's going to give you all the answers. And certainly when you're speaking, you're telling your story, you're giving a speech, you want to use your own voice. So I would use AI for topics or thoughts that you have, the message. You can even attach your speech, your outline to see what are the thoughts that, I like to use Claude more than ChatGPT. I've been using Claude a lot for also my legal practice. But I'm a proponent for using AI. But here's what I think is going to happen with the human voice, because my speech was about the human voice. The really amazing storytellers, like everybody in this group, the ability to speak, human speak, speaking is going to just become more and more in demand. Because right now it's the fad AI, it's sounding human these days, but people are going to be going to either Toastmasters events, story club events, because they want to see human beings speak. I mean, maybe when the robots start coming out and speaking, it might be all the fad for a little while. But I believe that we as human beings, we need flesh and blood. We need to hear the stories from ourselves. So the more that we can use AI as a tool, but still maintain our own voice. And for me, and Luisa, I don't know with your practice, but it's like you got to get it in your body. It's like there's one thing to write for the page, right? And you're just right. It sounds great on paper, but you got to start speaking it. You've got to start owning it. You've got to start, it's got to be in your body. Anyway, that seems like a long-winded table topics answer. Okay, let's move on.
It has got to be in your body. I totally agree, as someone who's always speaking from the body. And thank you for that. So we'll come back. I would like to introduce our next panelist. But before I do, I would like to ask that we do not take any pictures of Alicia. And if we do, then we please post these pictures after the 3rd, as she is running for a district position. So Alicia is a highly accomplished Toastmaster with over a decade of service and leadership across multiple international districts. She is a 4-time distinguished Toastmaster and has completed all 11 pathways, even twice. She received numerous awards for excellence in leadership and public speaking across Australia, the US, and Asia. Alicia joins our panel today as a past World Championship judge, and she is connected to a 2021 first runner-up, whom she partially mentored and supported by getting him speaking slots along the journey. Alicia is also, she serves as a Area 35 director in New York and is a member of several clubs across 4 districts. She's a professional sports commentator for netball and a full-time student pursuing a degree in sports management. So please join me, feel free to unmute your mics and welcome DTM Alicia Curtis. Alicia, I'm going to jump right into it.
Sure, thank you.
From our audience, how did you get selected to be a World Championship judge?
Okay, thank you. Very good question. A lot of people wonder and ask how you actually get selected for this. There are 2 ways to do that. One, sit on a trio. And secondly, it is also to write into Toastmasters International and ask to be a part of the judging panel. You've got to meet certain requirements, and they are in the judges in the speech contest rulebook. So you must have judged before. You have usually got to have an advanced communicator bronze. That's one of the minimum requirements. You have to be a member in good standing, and you also have to have experience. They usually look for people with extensive experience, because you're not just judging a particular contest, you're judging the World Championship of Public Speaking. So you want to make sure that you have integrity and you are doing the absolute best, and you're making sure that the people that you're judging, you are holding it with that integrity, respect, service, and excellence. Because at the end of the day, this could be a professional speaking opportunity for our contestants, and there may be something at the end of the, at the end of the rainbow for them as well. So I always think when we go for this, right into Toastmasters International, and definitely ask that question if you can be a part of the judging panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Follow-up question. Is this experience speaking experience or judging experience, or both?
Judging experience. And you probably also want to have speaking experience as well, because how can you actually judge a contest if you've never been in a contest yourself? I think that's disrespect to the contestants, and also you need to understand what they've been through as well. Having been a multiple contestant myself across all contests, whether it be Table Topics, Tall Tales, International Humorous, and also the International Speech Contest. I've been up to the division level. It is really important to have an understanding of what you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next panelist and the last to be introduced is our very own Leadership Speak member, Vinod Panikkar. Toastmaster Vinod is a seasoned Toastmaster who joined the organization in 2015 and has since made his mark as both a dynamic leader and a compelling speaker. Professionally, he serves as a sales director for a packaging company in Dubai. I believe he's joining us today from Dubai, and he brings strong communication and leadership skills into both his corporate and Toastmasters role. Vinod has held several key leadership positions, including division director, club president, VP membership, and VP public relations. On the contest stage, Vinod is the 2023 District Evaluation Contest second runner-up, a District Table Topics finalist, and a division finalist in the International Speech Contest. A testament to his sharp thinking and articulate delivery. Vinod's passion for connection, clarity, and continuous growth makes him valued today on our panel. So please join me. You can unmute your mics and let's welcome Toastmaster Vinod.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Nikhita. Amazing. Thank you, Luis, Angeli, and Alicia. I think, Nikhita, you wanted a man in the panel, so just you invited me.
No, I wanted you. But yes, thank you for bringing the diversity. It's very important.
Thank you very much.
Vinod, I wanted to ask, how many times have you competed?
3 times. It was in 2017, and after that, I took a long gap because almost 7 years it was in leadership, and I started again last year. This year again, I will be going to the division for international and evaluation, which is tomorrow. So yes, it has been an amazing journey. So I would be focusing more on the speech competition from now on.
All the best.
Thank you very
Got
much.
it.
Thank you.
All right, so let the journey begin. I've got so many more questions which come directly from our club members, and I will select who these questions will go to. So, Luisa, how has serious competition changed your understanding of yourself? What have you uncovered in this journey?
Great question. Serious competition and what have I learned about myself? Almost what I spoke about earlier. The first time I remember losing at district, I was driving home, crying a little bit and mad at the judges because they didn't know that I should have won. And then I realized I can either allow that to take over or I can brush it off, go back home, reinvent myself, pick myself up. Let's do this again and let's see what's going to work. And when you cook spaghetti, they say the way to know whether spaghetti is ready is you take spaghetti, you throw it at the wall, and whatever sticks, okay, if it sticks to the wall, that means it's ready. So that's what I did, basically. I just picked myself up. I started analyzing different ideas, different styles to speak, threw it against the wall and see what worked and what didn't work. And after losing over 40 contests, I finally found what it was that the judges had wanted that day. My thing is, I say it's very easy to win and be the world champion. You have to say the right thing at the right time on the right day to the right judges. It's that easy, which means it's not easy because you never know. So if you can say the right thing at the right time on the right day to the right judges, you win.
You never know. You've just got to keep trying. Throw yourself against the wall until it sticks to the judges. Thank you. What key factors do you consider? So this question is for Angeline. What key factors do you consider when choosing a speech topic for the World Championship stage? How did you choose yours?
I didn't choose mine, it chose me. So I want to, I mean, this follows up with this very beautiful speech that Shanicia gave in terms of responding, right? So this is leader speak. What is my responsibility as a leader? I asked myself that. And it's to be the best communicator that I can be. And, you know, I think that when I think about a topic, it's, you know, I just open myself up. I'm open. And I respond to what comes to me, and I think about it, and I think, well, is there a message there? What am I trying to say? Now, some people might pick their topic because somebody out there really needs to hear that. Now, that's not me, because that's preachy to me, and I don't like being preached to. Louisa, I see you're nodding your head. It's like it's just a natural thing, and it could be the smallest thing in your life. As long as your heart's involved. It doesn't have to be anything super major, or it can be. But in that big moment, it's a small, little intimate thing, because what it comes down to is being authentic and vulnerable. And let me use the word of the day, integrity. I would have integrity if I spoke from the heart. So I let the topic kind of choose me, but I'm open. When I go to bed at night and I know I'm going to move into a dream state, I ask myself, what needs to come through to me? Not only do other people need to hear, but I need to hear, because there's healing involved with yourself as a speaker. When you're speaking, like Shanicia, like I said, Shanicia, you better compete in the international speech contest, just saying, okay? Move on from table topics. But I'm sure, Shanicia, you are feeling like so empowered while you're speaking, because we say the things that we need to hear ourselves. And the audience needs to hear it too. Anyway, oh, I see the timer. Okay, good. I got to cut myself off. Okay, thank you.
That timer is for me, I believe, right? Yes, okay. So all is well. Open yourself up. This speech comes to you, but it comes to you when you are doing your healing, when you are vulnerable, when you are aligned, when you're not forcing, I believe, right? When you're not pushing to get there, it comes to you. Thank you so much. That was beautifully said. It really resonates with how my speeches come to me as well. Our next question would go to Alicia. Alicia, this one is important. So many people have asked this question. What must we know about the judging criteria?
Absolutely. A lot of people fail in contests because they're not reading the back of the judge's ballot. That's the first and foremost, most important thing that you need to read. Failure to read the judge's ballot is a failure to yourself, and you're going to lose. Simple as that. I remember when I was coaching a humorous speech contestant in Bangladesh, and she was the first person to ever get to a district final, and she placed second. This was about 10 years ago. And she read her speech out, and I said, it doesn't marry up with the judge's ballot. And she goes, who cares? And I said, well, you're going to lose and you're going to fail. That was my simple, strong response to her. So we had to rewrite the whole speech based around the judges' ballot. She came second. And I was very impressed with the fact that in her first year in Toastmasters, she got second. So people need to understand what's in the judges' ballot, what's in each line, each word that is written. A lot of people don't also realize that in each contest, except for the evaluation contest, we have to actually define the purpose of our speech. There's 45 marks, there's 60 marks, there's 55 marks. Highest percentage is actually, are you informing, persuading, entertaining, or motivating, etc., etc. So what are you actually doing? And it's not about impressing a whole group of people. You're there to impress the judges. So that is exactly what you need to do. You need to understand what's written there. So for an evaluation contest, as an example, you need to have analytical quality, 40 marks. People fail to read in respect to the recommendations. It doesn't say weakness and strength. It says weaknesses and strengths. That's a plural. So you must have more than two. So two or more. So people really need to understand this. And the big one, the low people fell in the evaluation contest, the summation. They don't put a summary in their evaluation. And that was where I actually failed to get my ticket to a district final 10 years ago. And I still am very angry to this day that I didn't get that ticket to the district final. And I remind myself, and I've actually coached 4 district champions in evaluation. If you don't have a summary, you are not going to win a contest. And that's where the final 15 marks is going to get. So I always say, don't worry about what's on the front, look on the back, highlight the adjectives in each particular part, and look at what is the highest points, because say, for example, with the international speech contest, it is content, then it is delivery, then it is language. Go in that order. You can have a great delivery, but are you actually nailing it there with the content? So really important to read the judges' ballot and make sure that you understand what the judges are judging for. Back to you.
Thank you. I did not do my homework when I competed, but this is really important to know. Next time I'll make sure I do my homework. I would like to ask the next question to Toastmaster Louisa. What's the key to writing a world-class speech?
I believe the key to writing a world-class speech for me is actually choosing an emotion. Because in 2019, my speech was not for the world. My speech was for the United States. And that's where I made a mistake. In 2024, last year, I chose an emotion that I really did not want to share with the world. But when you choose an emotion, you see, I could give a speech on golf, but I'm going to lose half my audience because maybe half my audience isn't interested in golf. But when you choose an emotion that you've been through, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you've been through emotions, whether it's sadness or anger or happiness or embarrassment. And with my speech in 2024, it was an emotion I went through, and it was almost a depression I went through. And I don't go through depressions. I am the silver lining around the cloud. I'm like, we're going to make this work. Yes, this is good. But I realized I went through such a low point in my life. And I thought as was stated earlier, when you give a speech, it's almost a time for you to heal from whatever you went through. I was very, very, I really didn't want to. There's one line in that speech that almost broke me. And if you go back and listen to the speech, to that line, you can almost hear me crack at the end. And it's the line where I said, and even though my father says quitters cry, I started to cry. That was the lowest line in my speech. And if you listen to it, I almost start to crack and cry at the end of that sentence, because that is something I would never want anyone to know. I cried. Louisa cried. So if you go with an emotion, for a world-class speech, that to me is a better foundation than an event or something that happened to you. Go with an emotion. Pick an emotion. Be vulnerable. Be authentic. Be real. And you will connect with your audience globally. That's my suggestion.
Connect with emotion. And I felt that. I felt like listening to you. Yes, I need to take a breath after that. Thank you. How many, Toastmaster Anjali, how many versions of your contest speech, which came to you, did you go through? And let's first get to that question. How many versions of it did you have to go through?
For the final speech?
Yes.
I don't know, maybe 20. But the versions are just different ideas that I was having. But I'm probably going to do something different this time, is that I'm not going to do such heavy memorization, because I wasn't able to spend as much time on the second speech that I did on the first speech, which I think that a lot of people, that happens with a lot of people. But to me, at this point, it's very important to internalize. I mean, know where you're going, different blocks in the speech, but really have it grounded in you, have it in your body and your heart. I didn't feel I had my final speech really solidly grounded. So I would really advise that.
Did you have a coach?
Yes, I did. I did have a coach.
And how did you find the right coach for you?
Well, I mean, all of us we're all leaders here. And so we all, just do your research, word of mouth. I think it's important to have a coach, but sometimes that can be costly. And if you can't, I would have a very close team of people that I trust. Don't listen to everybody. Don't, I mean, first of all, know who you are, right? Okay, don't fall apart and you're going to go run and try to please this person and this person. People will react with their own emotion about how they feel about your speech, but there's only a certain, fewer people that actually can give you some good feedback, like an evaluator, on how maybe you can restructure your speech or, yeah. So I would say I got a lot of value from evaluators, from Toastmasters. I mean, I still listen to everybody. I think that's important, but, can't please everybody.
Yeah, because one of our questions was, how do you avoid getting lost in the constant revision and with all the feedback that you get? Did you feel like...
I don't get lost. So first of all, this goes back to, well, actually that sounded harsh. I do get lost sometimes, but I think it goes back to initially my intention, because we talked about leadership and responding and intention. And then, what Shanicia was saying about clarity and calm and conviction. If you know in your heart and soul what it is that you want the audience to feel, and Alicia's great point about the judges' ballot and the content and what judges are looking for, if you're solid on that, you don't need to keep running over here and here and here and listening to everybody else. No, just get focused and respond to the feedback. And don't ask everybody for feedback either. And don't ask your loved ones. That's a no-no, okay?
Don't ask your loved ones. Go to the ones who have experience, who are here for that specific reason to help you become a master at your speech. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Anjali. Let's see, the next question I would like to give to Toastmaster Vinod. You've returned to the competition stage 3 times. And many other competitors are continuously returning and returning. So they're in the same shoes. But we would like to know, what have you discovered about yourself through this repeated pursuit? And how has your understanding of success evolved in the 3 times that you've competed?
I would say I learned something about me, that what Socrates used to say, I know nothing. So every time I compete, I learn something new. And twice I was disqualified for international competition at the division level. In 2017, first I was disqualified for using a quote which I did not give credit to. So I had used 2 quotes. I still remember very clearly. One was "Life begins at the end of comfort zone" by Neil Donald Walsh. But the second, which I said was the greatest treasures is in the graveyard, something which Les Brown always says. And I did not mention a means there, and somebody protested, and I was disqualified. Last year, again in the divisions, I was a judge for an area contest at the international. So according to the rule book, if you are competing, you can't be a contest chair, you can't be a judge above club level. And a year before, I was chief judge for 4 divisions and judges for almost 20-30 contests. So for me, the differentiation between club and area was gone, right? Okay, somebody is calling emergency, judges backed out, I went, but it backfired last year to me. Fortunately for the evaluation, I was not there, so I went to the district. So what I have learned is stick to the rule book, right? It's just 20 pages something. Read it thoroughly. Read your judge's ballot, and the learning that I have had from Toastmaster is immense. It's not only the contest. In 2018, when my life was settled, I left everything and jumped into training. So I became a professional trainer only due to the confidence that I got from Toastmasters. Until COVID hit, I was training. Right, then the online the economics was not matching. Then I thought, okay, it's much better what I do, sales and all these things, let me continue for 4-5 years and do it side by side. It has helped me professionally. So for me, being an accredited speaker is still much bigger at a higher level than being a world championship, because Craig Valentine told it best. He said, when I won the world championship, the first thing that I did was bought a book on how to be a good public speaker. So world championship may be a beginning, but I want to be a professional trainer and a professional speaker, and I want to command an audience of maybe 1,000 or a 20, whatever it is. So my focus has always on been that, how adults learn, how I can transfer information, how can I make it entertaining. And Toastmaster has helped me a lot to create my stories. So that is one reason why I'm always in the contest, and from this year I will be there till I win. I will make sure. So for all the other contestants who will be competing, read the rule book, read the judges ballot, ensure that you do that, and then keep developing your story.
There you have it. You are competing. You're in this to compete. So we have to start with the rules, and then the rest of the process follows, right? And you don't need all that feedback, like Toastmaster Anjali says, so many voices, if you know what you need to do. Toastmaster Alicia, very important question for you is, beyond the official rubric, what other factors might influence a judge's decision, and how are biases managed?
That's a very topical question, isn't it, when we go into the contest? Firstly, I always say to any judge or anyone who wants to be a judge, you must print out the rule book and you must highlight all the new changes, and you must highlight the changes that are going to affect the contestant, but you also need to highlight the points in that rule book which could actually have an effect on the contestant. So for example, we talked about the 25-75 rules, 75% originality, 25% made up, and you've also got to quote your sources. It's really important to understand what you can and can't protest on. So that's the first thing that's really important to understand in the rule book, because you don't want to just kick someone out because you feel that they need to be kicked out. You need to understand why they are going to be disqualified. That's really important, because again, there may be a professional speaking thing at the end of this, at the end of these contests. Also, you need to be, when you're in the presence of the actual contest, you really need to be in the moment. You need to take the emotion out of it, because judging can get emotional and it is subjective. That's the whole thing. It's a personal thing at the end of the day. So you need to take the emotion out of it, and you just need to be the raw person and do the best on the day as the judge. So one of the things I always say to the judges, and I've chief judged all around the world at district level, I always say when I bring my group of judges in, listen and understand, because when we were online, it was very difficult to actually ascertain how the audience was going to respond. And that's a big key part if you read the judges' ballot is a really key part. But now that we're in person, it's really important to actually watch how the audience reacts, because how they react and they respond is a key to seeing, did the actual speaker or the contestant meet the judge's criteria? That's an important thing. Sitting up the front is important so that you can actually respect the contestant. Don't sit up in the peanut gallery as if you're going to throw peanuts at the poor contestant. Be there and be genuine. And again, it's about having integrity. It's part of our core values in Toastmasters. Listening with intent. You might not like the speech. Here's another thing. A lot of people don't like the speeches, but it's not about what you like. It's about, did the speech actually fulfill the judge's ballot and the criteria? They could have the speech that you don't agree with. For example, it could be something on like abortion or something. You might not like the actual content, but did it meet the judge's criteria? So it's a very topical topic and it is very debatable, but you need to understand that that is not your decision on what they're talking about. You're judging against the ballot and whatever. Watching how the audience responds to it is really important as well. Managing bias, that is a really topical question as well. How do we actually manage it? Let's be honest. You have two people in a room, there's always going to be politics, no matter what. And there's always going to be bias, no matter what. However, you've got to take the emotion out of what you're listening to. So my suggestion to people is to understand that you're there for one thing. You're to judge a contest. You're to pick a winner. That's the whole point of a contest. First, second, and third. You're picking a winner and you're picking the best person who meets the judge's criteria. We always talk about the bias. Yep.
Can I, sorry, I'm going to cut you off there because I'm just keeping my eye on the timing. And I think what I'm hearing is, at the end of the day, maybe it comes down to right time, right place, right, right moment, right room, right speech, which is what Toastmaster Louisa said, right? Because if you can't manage all these biases, comes down to the right time for you. Is it your time? So I would like just one question from the audience, quick, short, right to the point. Please ask you can put your hand up. I'll choose one question. We're on the red already, so maybe I don't. Okay, Ray, you have a question. Is it a quick question? And can you ask who you're asking this question to?
Okay. I think I'll ask this question to Louisa, but it could be addressed to any one of the speakers. What do you consider to be in your control as a speaker, especially as you progress up to the World Championships? What do you consider to be what do you have in your control? Because you got a lot of external factors that are out of your control. The speaker might be better than you trying to guess what the judges are going to say, things like that.
Thank you very much, Ray. So the question is, what do you consider in your control? And if you, Louisa, if you have a quick answer for us, that would be great. We're on the radio in the red.
What you have in your control is what you want your audience to take away. That's the control you have on your speech. What you want your audience, the message you want your audience to have, that's what you have control over. You don't have control over how they receive it. You don't have control over whether you're going to win, any of that. So as long as you get the message you want across, it might not win. So go back again the next year and try it again. But to me, that's the only thing you have control over. What comes out of your mouth is the message you want your audience to receive. How they receive it, how the judges see it, you have no control over that. So if you're true to the message you want to leave, that's what works, I believe.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of this panel discussion. I will wrap it up, what stood out for me, and hopefully this is what stood out for you. But you're also welcome to post what stood out for you in the comments. Read the rule book. That's very important. Start there. You don't need a million voices. Speak from emotion. Create your speech from emotion. Let it come to you. It comes to you when you're open, when you're aligned, when you've done the healing, when you've been through the hurdles, when you've made it through the hurdles. And You never know when is the right time for you. So keep coming back. Just come back. But remember, maybe this is not about winning the competition. Maybe it is about winning a personal mastery, a personal goal of yours. So I want to thank all the audience members here who have contributed to today's questions. I hope you feel more supported as you continue to go through the competition. And those who haven't thought, who might want to compete, I hope you take the risk, see what you learn about yourself. And thank you so much to our panelists. It's been a great honor to share this space, to be in presence with you today. From Leadership Speak and from me, back to our Toastmaster of the day, Baron.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nikhita, and thank you to our wonderful panelists. It indeed is a different room. Right.
Normal services will be resumed shortly.
Decided that it was going to come back, so we are back. Thank you once again to Master Nikhita, and for the panelists we've had today. It shows you that we are in the presence of greatness.
Baron,
and we get
hold a second, Baron.
Great leaders,
Baron,
great speakers.
Baron, hold a second. Can
You
you switch off?
I feel like your hand is up.
Can you switch off?
Saluting
Yes.
it.
Can you switch off one of your microphones, because both your microphones are on, and so we can't hear you. Wow.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. That was me in the moment
Thank you.
of making
All right.
sure.
No worries. All right.
Thank you. That was in the process of making sure that I am ahead of the technology. And it got the better of me for a minute, but we shall keep it in stride. As I was saying, we get the opportunity to listen to great speakers, great leaders who have been shown, who have proven time and time again. And for me, what stood out, Toastmaster Nikhita, I will say this much, as well as to our panelists, if they're still here, is the idea that we don't necessarily compete to win, we compete to grow. And the win will come along the way, right? So you'll find, as you started, you highlighted Toastmaster Louisa joined in 1983. We had Toastmaster, and then the differentiating factor with Toastmaster Angela, who joined in 2023. Was it 23 years? Only 1 year before she won. So you see that distinction. But then they come back time and time again until they lock in on it. And then comes the new very good problem of, now I can't contest anymore, I need a new direction. But it all goes to show you that we compete to grow, we practice to grow, and everything, every insight, every bit of it is for our betterment. And with that being said, we have an upcoming world champion, dare I say, of public speaking, whom I'm sure will be hosted in one of these panels very soon. And he says, perhaps for the Zoom master's sake, I will say his name. That is none other than Toastmaster Terrence. And he says in his work and in his role in the community, he's in charge of change management. When he puts it all together, he's in charge of change management. And that is why he's going to speak to us about that. He says change is the only constant, and we should always anticipate and thus prepare for change. To evaluate Toastmaster Terrence Were, our VPPR, is Toastmaster Leah Musunga, our VPM. So we are seeing leadership in exemplification right here. Over to you, Toastmaster Leah, for the objectives.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day. And today I'll be evaluating Toastmaster Terrence. As you said, he's doing a project, the project Manage Change. So in terms of the speech, the objective is to share an overview and benefits of a change management plan of a real or hypothetical situation in a speech style that supports the speech content. So Toastmaster Terrence had also asked me to look out because he wants to incorporate descriptive language and also note his tone variation as he delivers his speech. Thank you, and back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Leah Musunga. I see our mechanic is ready. I am not sure who has their car lined up. Ladies and gentlemen, Terrence Were, Butterfingers. Butterfingers, Terrence Were.
A few weeks ago, this was Terrence Were working on a pump. Suddenly, there was an explosion. At that moment, I was taken back about 14 years ago, back in my childhood, I would say, where I got into so much trouble that people thought I was one of the teachers in school. You see, I had the tendency of disassembling anything just to find out what makes it tick. As for the rules, I wanted to test my limits just to see how far can I go before I get into trouble. Toastmasters and guests, I was something of a trouble expert, if you might say so. So much so that some misunderstood and thought that I was Butterfingers. In other words, clumsy. This moment, I'm going to share with you a few aspects of a change management plan. And thanks to my past in troublemaking and getting out of trouble, I'm something of an expert. The first thing I would encourage each and every one of us, whenever you encounter change, anticipate the shrapnel. As I gave the example of trying to fix the water pump, there was a sudden explosion. And in each and every moment that we encounter change, there are things that go beyond our control. The best way to control them is to anticipate them. This reminds me of a moment when I spoke to a group of people, and from the, I would call it a session, from the moment they got into the room, I noticed that some of their minds were completely out of the room. I had to devise a way to get them back to the room. And so I gave them a simple breathing exercise. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. By the time I was done with this exercise, that mother who might have dropped her child and didn't get a hug was already back in the room. That senior professional who was thinking about the next week's report was already thinking about simply breathing and nothing else. By anticipating the shrapnel in this instance, I was able to control the emotions and control the environment in the room, so that when we began the session, everyone's mind was focused in the session. The second thing is to control the blast radius. For my electrical fixing, I had the opportunity to switch off the main switch and, of course, the consumer unit. But when it came to testing, I had to turn it back on, and thus the explosion. The same applies to us. Every time we are in a moment of change, we need to contain the blast. We need to look at the factors that can go overboard. For instance, there could be that troublemaker in your team who is already thinking about how he can break the rules that you've set as a group. Or even after the breathing exercise, he's already going back to his old habits. We are human beings, and to err is human. And anticipating that helps us contain the blast radius so that in case of any unfortunate events, we're able to mitigate the risks and control the situation. As a child, I opened up so many gadgets and devices. As I said earlier, I simply just wanted to know what makes the radio tick. Are there small people inside speaking? What about the TV? Why is the president in our TV? My father took it upon himself not to punish me for those mistakes that I made while trying to disassemble and reassemble, but to encourage me on a path of discovery. So for instance, instead of getting all the things out of my way or locking them in a specific place, he let them out. And through the experiences, I was able to learn what worked and what did not work. And that brings me to the third and final part that we need to incorporate in our change management plans. And that is have a cleanup protocol. As a child, this was a bit simple. All I had to do was pick up the pieces, talk to my father about it, and get help reassembling them. As an adult, the players have changed. I no longer have my father to help me put things back together. I now have teams that I need to work with whenever something has gone wrong and we need to clean up, so to say. In any change management or in any change that you might be encountering or you might be looking forward, be it at your workplace, be it in a project, you need to have a way that you can get back to factory settings. You can take a step back, look at what has changed, and be able to undo those changes that were undesirable and keep those that conform to the plan. Toastmasters and guests, what part of change are you tackling this moment? Have a plan and make it work. Toastmaster of the day.
Kudos, Toastmaster Terrence. Change is, in many communities, a very contentious issue. And I have said that with a lot of deliberation, with a lot of carefulness, because of how pertinent it is. Like was said in the introduction, and like you have pointed out, change is a constant. In fact, the only constant. Thank you for expounding on how we can manage this better with real life situations. Up next, we have Toastmaster Luciano, Joao, who will be talking about how, like Terrence spoke about change management, we'll be talking about how project management, right? How project management can apply in our day-to-day lives. His why for his speech is to ensure that we understand how project management knowledge can be used in our day-to-day lives. And to evaluate him is Toastmaster Nelly Ayodo, straight from Nairobi. Toastmaster Nelly, please share with us the objectives of Toastmaster Luciano's.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Luciano is doing the pathway leadership development. He is attempting the project, planning and implementation. The purpose of this project is for Luciano to practice developing a plan and bringing the plan to fruition. Luciano is to share some aspect of planning and implementing of his small-scale project. The title of Luciano's speech is Organizing a Dinner with Friends.
Just a second, the title is mine.
Okay.
You can continue. Sorry, you can keep going with the objectives and how much time he's supposed to use.
The speech is to take 5 to 7 minutes. Luciano has asked me to look out for vocal variety, use of pauses to emphasize his message. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nelly, for taking it in stride there. Luciano Joao with a speech titled Organizing Dinner with Friends. Organizing Dinner with Friends, Luciano.
What goes into your mind when you have a dinner with your friends that's set to start at 7 p.m., but you look at your watch, it's already 8:30 p.m., and no one has shown up. No one has sent any message, no one has called, no one has arrived. How would you feel? That's what I experienced last month when I was organizing a dinner for my friends. That's what happened. But did I feel any anxiety? Was I nervous about it? No, I wasn't, because I've organized many dinners in the past, many events in the past in my house, and usually I observe the same patterns, because you have people that always arrive late. As we say in Angola, they use the Angolan time. And the Angolan time, usually it's 1, 2, even 3 hours before the event, people will show up. So this is something that you have to plan for, that they will show late. But at the end of the day, you have to organize your event with a lot of integrity. And let me tell you the most interesting part. What's that? Is the fact when you're preparing the event, like in a way, in the professional world, when you're doing any project, you'll usually do the plan. What is the project? You define what is the project, what's required for the project, all the tools, and then you start executing the project. In the same way, in a personal workplace, in a personal place, where when you're organizing a dinner, you almost follow the same approach, which is very important. By following that approach, you determine the success of the event. And when you're organizing a dinner with friends, the first thing that you need, what is it? The first thing that you need to visualize what do you want that day to be like. So you determine what's the food that you're going to cook, that you're going to have, what's going to be the main plate, what's going to be the dessert, and afterwards, what you're going to have, the snacks that you're going to have afterwards, after the main plate, and even after the dessert, because people usually can stay after 10, 2, 3, or 4 p.m. if the environment is very good. So one has to cater for that. And when I was preparing for the event, one thing I did, I said, what am I going to cook? I visualized that. There were 2 plates that I was going to do. Those are my signature dishes. Can you imagine which plates are those? Number 1 is the seafood pasta. As I always say, nobody does the seafood pasta like me. I'm the master in doing it. And then the second plate is the mushroom pasta. So 2 pasta plates, which I do very well. So I organized, as I said, these are the plates that I'm going to do. And then second thing you need to visualize is the drinks. What are people going to have? Wine, beer, whiskey, juice, soft drinks. So you need to plan for that. And then afterwards, you need to organize how do you want people to be in the house when they start coming through? One thing that I always do is I have a living room where I have my library. I have plenty of books there. So when the guests started coming in, some of the guests, I invited them, they could stay in the living room, check the books, and then chat among them. That was one option. And the other option that I had is there are those guests that don't like to stay there in the living room, but they like to stay with you as a host. What I did is I brought them to the kitchen where I was cooking. And while I was cooking, they could see what I was doing. And they are part also of the cooking. And they can be part of it. And the conversations, those are the best places where you have the best conversation. While you're cooking, you engage. Serve them some wine, you cook, and it's ideally. And one thing that I always do is when I'm preparing for dinner is you should also plan at what time will the food be on the table. You don't want the guests to arrive before the food is ready. That's one thing. Before the table is full set, because you want them to come and be part of the actual work where they will contribute towards either cooking, they'll feel engaged, cook, and also setting the table. That's what I was doing with them, with my friends while they came through. There was a couple of them that were in the living room, watching, mingling among them, checking my library connection, my book collection, and the other ones I brought them to the kitchen. And once they came to the kitchen, they were able to see what I was doing and also help cooking. That was very good. And then after I finalized cooking, then we went to the table. We had the main dinner. We had the dinner. We chatted. And then afterwards, we had dessert. And then when we had the dessert, I had to go with them. And we have 3 main areas in the house where people could sit and have a chat. So one of the areas is where you have the wine collection. I have my wine collection, and people who are wine lovers, they'll sit there and they'll have a chat, and we'll have a chat about wine. The second one is the same place where I have them in the beginning, is where we can have a chat about books, about technology, and so on. And the other area is just in the veranda, where people can go outdoors. Some might like to smoke, and you can have that area where they can engage, they can smoke, and they can talk. So, but all of this has to be very well planned so that you can have a successful event. So the same way that you do in project management, where you control every stage of the project while you having a dinner at home, organizing a dinner at home, you can do the same thing. By doing that, at the end of the day, you determine the success of the event that you're organizing at home by using those tools of project management. So that's the main thing. Thank you very much. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Luciano. Not only does it sound like a fantastic time, it also sounds like an incredibly well-organized time, right? In fact, if it weren't for the distance, I would have already been asking for the location pin, because it seems like you organize a really mean gathering, a really mean dinner, and all with skills that you've learned in school. Very soon, we should have a conversation about how we can all have marketing skills in our everyday lives. That is where I've also dabbled in. And it's incredible to see that we have an array of skills coming from the different members. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I want to once again announce to our guests that we have a guest book posted in the chat. While the guest book is in the chat, and the first call to action I would have for you on that is to click on the link. We'd also love to hear from you about how the meeting is, how the speakers, what you're learning from them in the chat. So feel free to use that option, that function rather. Share what your feedback is to them, engage with them. I know Luisa was still here a minute ago, so you could engage and ask a few questions. Toastmaster Luciano, inquire more about his experience, about how you can also organize such a fantastic dinner. And those little nuances, the details that he put together to show you that he's being very intentional and being responsible to ensure that everybody has a fantastic experience. With that being said, I would like to call upon our timer to share in the chat the timing report for the speakers so far, as well as the Zoom master should share the poll. I call on everybody. You don't have to, it's not only to members, everybody to vote on who you think the better speaker was today. Just a few more votes in and we shall be able to continue. So I call on you once again to decide where your vote lies. Every vote counts. Perfect. While we are at it, speaking of Toastmasters, earlier on at the beginning, I was speaking of Toastmasters who have invested a lot in their responsibility by exposing themselves to other cultures, to other Toastmasters environments, and to other spaces through the virtual platforms that we have. We have our general evaluator who has ensured that she makes the most of her Toastmasters experience. Our general evaluator is a distinguished Toastmaster, Hannah Schmidt. She became a Toastmaster 14 years in 2020. She called herself the Zoom hopper after 2020 when we entered the lockdown era. The Zoom hopper in which during that time she participated in online meetings of each of the members of the clubs, in their other clubs that they were participating in. With this, she visited very many clubs. As you can see, she's still flying through it. She visited several clubs and now meets many members online, and they say, "Where do I know you from?" And it is all through Zoom. With that, she has experienced her communication skills and developed her leadership skills and abilities through this platform of being able to hop on Zoom club to club. And today she will be sharing with us how we did in this meeting, as well as engaging our evaluators. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, for that introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Hannah, and I will be your general evaluator for today. Oh, and it is such a true privilege to lead a team of skilled and committed evaluators. These individuals, they exemplify the core of the responsibility of a leader. Bound by a shared commitment of providing insightful and meaningful feedback, they acknowledge the time, the effort, and the attention our speakers have invested in their speeches. Let me first start by Baron, who raised the toast. Appropriate toast for the theme. Baron, thank you for jumping in. And now I call on his evaluator, Ray. Ray, he is a charter member of Leadership Speak. Ray, give us your evaluation.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. Baron, thank you for taking up the role for Francois. I loved how you opened up by holding the toast telling the audience, patience, and taking command of the stage. That's very important. And I loved how you presented the challenge of leadership, to come far and a long way to go, and outlining the journey of leadership. To me, it's a little unique, not necessarily difficult, but unique, that I'm evaluating your performance based on somebody else's speech. It's something that I'm haven't experienced too often as a Toastmaster, but now today it has happened. And for me, as an evaluator, I had talked to Francois and I was looking for some of the nuances that she would normally do. But now I had to go focus on what you're comfortable with. And I felt that you've done an outstanding job given the circumstances. The only thing I could think of working on is just seeing if you had more time to convey what I can do to help you become a better speaker, even with a secondary speech that you didn't get, you didn't have a chance to edit or write. And to challenge yourself, and I think this is also something that I want to apply to Francois as well when we see her the next time, is see if we could expand his speech in the keynote, because I think this is a very important topic. And I think it's something with a lot of potential. Overall, considering the circumstances, this is an outstanding job of just taking somebody's place and keeping the flow of the meeting going. Fantastic job considering the circumstances. Over to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Ray, thank you very much. And really, we must thank Baron for jumping in at the last minute. And certainly your message was as clear as you pointed out. You highlighted the strengths and provided some recommendations to Baron. And I am sure Baron or everybody else who presents a toast in the future will adhere to that. Thank you very much. Our Toastmaster of the day, Baron. He hails from Uganda and is our Toastmaster of the meeting, and his exemplary leading the meeting will be evaluated by our Queen of Straight Talk. Sandra, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm not very good on Elvis Presley there, but it is an absolute delight, absolute delight to be asked to evaluate Baron today. Baron, as Toastmaster of the day, you wowed me immediately when you came out with that beautiful gold tie and all done up in your tuxedo look. It was beautiful, and you carried it off. You always astonish me. Now, the only thing that I got a chuckle immediately was you got drugged here. Drug is when you're taking those pills. You got dragged here would be, So you might want to not be drugging anybody to come, because that wouldn't do so much for their ability to be responsible. And I loved the whole theme of the responsibility. You set this up behind the scenes with the key people. The theme is set up between the Toastmaster of the day and the leadership speaking keynote and the toast. And you really pulled it together. And I saw that in the background work. These meetings don't happen by chance. They happen with a great deal of planning. And you led that planning all the way through. I saw a very relaxed Baron today, very professional, relaxed, and just so happy to be doing the job you were doing. That is the authenticity that I look for, because that reaches right through Zoom. It connects with the audience, and everything is about the audience. Being able to just change those hats and add a grin and be professional and succinct. You didn't interrupt the speakers before they were ready to speak with, oh, how are you today? Blah, 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 blah. That drives me crazy. Could you imagine Celine Dion ready to sweep down from the rooftops and, oh, don't pull that rope yet. I'm supposed to be talking about something else. When the speaker's ready, they're in their head. ready to do the speech. So I really appreciated the way you went into it. Some of that was because you had the introduction. So I hear more of it today. They're coming from Canada or whatever country as part of the introduction. The calling on the tag team, you brought in some lovely little bit of humor there, and brought Jyoti in as the pillar of leadership speak. The whole MC job is really to keep the program moving along, and you did that beautifully. Introductions, I would encourage whoever's giving the introduction, preparing it, every speaker should prepare their introduction much more thoroughly, and I would ask the Toastmaster of the day to draw more of that out, because the introduction sets us up for what we're going to listen to and how we're going to listen. Oh, that was a quick change. Basically, you were humble and truly involved, all about the audience, and that was the control. You delivered what you had control of. And since that light changed so suddenly, I'm just going to run over. I was watching in the back room how you were in there with humor in managing the portions of the scenes. It was impeccable, building up the entire team. And I like that you're going to take some of that to your therapist. Overall, you were professional, engaged, and light humor that really connected. Well done. GE?
Thank you. You had really some straight talk, and you did not drive me crazy, as you said that before. And you were definitely to the point about Baron taking up that role. Behind the scenes, poor Baron had a really tough time, but he managed it, and you exemplified it, and you calmed him down, and you talked about it, and that was good. Thank you very much, Sandra. Our leadership educational speech, the responsibility of a leader, presented by Shanicia, will now be evaluated by Guerdah, a conscious listener and observer. Guerdah, let's hear your observation.
Thank you, General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and especially Shanicia. That was a very empowering presentation with simple instructions to follow and apply. You excelled at telling an impactful story, starting with a quote about the subject, followed up with your own story, sharing different steps in the process of the ability to respond, and in the end, tying everything back together, giving us a beautiful gift. You connected well with the audience as everyone was intently listening. My recommendations, and en passant, I have a question. The quote at the beginning, or what I felt was a quote, did you mention the author? I did not catch that. In terms of vocal varieties, you had some great ones. I was having a ball. I felt the excitement in your voice then. I felt you did well when there were high emotions. However, there is an opportunity to work on the low emotions, such as I was frozen. I stood there feeling very vulnerable. Also, use some emotions or some expressions that are typical in your culture. So that brings it to something that is definitely you. What I would like you to challenge yourself with is the pause, to pause even more. For example, when you said pause and to respond, it needed a longer pause. I've learned some time ago that in the Chinese community, when a speaker speaks, no one will say anything until the body relaxes and the person stops moving. And I want to bring your attention to your hands today. They were constantly moving. Allow your body to pause as well. In summary, that was an impactful content, engaging delivery, work on the pause in terms of your body and vocal variety. And all in all, I felt that your presentation was a masterclass on the responsibility of a leader. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Guerdah, thank you for your observation. It was definitely also done by a responsibility leader. Thank you very much. You observed all that I have also observed from Shanicia's speech, especially you not only said the bad or the other points, but you evaluated or to give her the recommendations on how to do it the next time. Like all the challenges and the pauses, the vocal variety, that's what I missed also. And your vocal variety was excellent. And I'm sure Shanicia will take that all to heart. Our first speaker, Nikhita. She is not only a World Championship of Public Speaking semi-finalist, but also a charter member of Leadership Speak. And her 40-minute presentation, A Champion's Path, will be evaluated by hailing from Cyprus. And Elena is also carved out her own champion's path from club speeches to contest mastery. Over to you, Elena. Go ahead.
Achieving personal mastery requires diversity, warmth, and enthusiasm, and this is what we got today. Madam General Evaluator and fellow Toastmasters and guests, we are so honored to Nikhita for all the work she's put in order to prepare and execute this fantastic project. Her choice of people is, of course, very amazing, but not just because of their individual strengths, but because of their complementary forces. So we got the wide range of speakers that could, the speakers, of 2 years at Toastmasters or 40 years at Toastmasters. So we got the whole range. And for that, I need to commend her. We also got as a club a very good training from Nikhita in terms of prepping us and asking us to pose our questions from days before. Not just once, and not just twice, I think it was 3 times that we were encouraged to bring up our questions, and so as to feel engaged and prepped for this amazing event. The second thing I really appreciated about our moderator was that she set the tone from the beginning with clarity and respect, and she introduced every speaker with enthusiasm and some really dignified comments, and she also did a beautiful wrap-up after every speaker, repeating the actual words that the speakers mentioned so that we could take our little nuggets of wisdom as learning points. And overall, as a third point, I really did appreciate, as today's a day where we honor responsibility, her vocal variety, her grounded tone, her pauses, her whole demeanor was just eloquently set for this challenge. In terms of recommendations, I have two important points that I think would really elevate this discussion. Now, even though the questions from the audience did probably hopefully came through early, I would suggest that the questions were phrased as if they were coming from the audience. So instead of posing the question, you could have initiated it with, many of our audience members are wondering this, or so that the audience would feel a little bit more engaged. I also thought that we could have had a few show of hands or maybe some comments in the chat. And generally, because of time limitation, we weren't able to pose many questions, but that could have come, through Nikhita's posing of the questions. The second point I want to put through is about the flow of the discussion and the fact that this was should have been more of a panel discussion. So allowing or encouraging the speakers to reply to one another, to respond, to ask them how they feel about somebody else's comments, and would have allowed a little bit more of diversity. Also, you could have had some thematic rounds, maybe 3 of them, and interchange the order of the speakers, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 4, so that it wasn't a bit square in its delivery, and would have liked a little bit more roundness in the flow. To sum up, overall, I think your tone and your preparation and your execution were amazing, and with a little bit more time management, you could have removed the stress and had this more circular tone in your flow. And overall, yes, I do feel that I myself and others, we all feel very empowered after this panel discussion to take the champion path. Thank you very much.
Elena, thank you very much for all the observations that you had about Nikhita's panel discussion. And as you recommended correctly, the interaction between the panelists, that was missing, and that you observed very well. And maybe with not just one-to-one, but let the panelists also have a discussion. You observed that very well. Thank you very much. And also, as you said, the recommendations maybe a bit shorter, and let the audience also participate in the questions. That I think is also one of the requirements of a panel discussion, that the audience can also participate. Thank you very much. And our next speaker, our evaluator, is our Vice President Membership, Leah, and she will evaluate Terrence. His speech on how to manage change with butterfingers. Over to you. Let's see how you manage your evaluation with butterfingers.
Thank you so much for that, Madam General Evaluator. And good day, Toastmasters, our guests, and to you, Terrence. So I'll share my evaluation in 3 in terms of what I saw, what I heard, and what I felt. So in terms of what I heard, it was very clear that you are an expert in change management, because that really came out from the speech that you presented. And you also told a childhood story that helped to link the various parts of the story that you were telling, which I thought was really well done, linking that with the change management story that you're trying to share with us. You also had, from what I saw, you also had a good use of illustrations. You had like a device that you used at the beginning, which we could clearly see. There was a time when you used your hands and you showed us with an illustration. So that was a great visual for us to see and follow along as you presented your speech. I could feel that this was an informative speech, and also liked the fact that you had a very clear call to order that you gave at the end. So in terms of recommendations that I would give you to help elevate your speak the next time when you do present, from what I saw with Zoom, I know even my hands right now are disappearing. That can happen every once in a while. So you need to be mindful of that. I know the always example is make sure you have a green background behind you so that you don't have what's happening with me, because that was happening every once in a while as you were presenting. And then in terms of what I heard, you had requested for me to hear you use of descriptive language. I didn't really hear that coming out from when you were presenting your speech, because it seemed like the words that you were using, they were clear, and I couldn't really hear you using descriptive language, because it's supposed to give us this vivid mental imagery. And for me, I didn't hear that coming out. And then also you have to be mindful when you're presenting a speech with many different audience members, that when you use technical terms, that those are explained for maybe people who might not be too familiar with some of the language that you use, because you did use some terms that even I didn't know what you meant. So just be mindful on that. Other than that, well done in presenting your speech today in change management. I'm sure we have all learned something. Be mindful of your Zoom and ensure that when you do incorporate descriptive language, that it is very clear, and you make sure that you explain your technical terms that you do use. Thank you. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Yeah, thank you very much for that very descriptive evaluation of the Butterfingers. And you mentioned the 3 points: what you saw, what you heard, what you felt. You talked about I saw, I heard. But the last one about how I felt, that was a bit missing. Maybe you could have added that. I know 2 to 3 minutes evaluating speeches is actually sometimes quite a short time, but you have missed about the how you felt about the speech. Your third point that you said, you had a good observation about his childhood. You mentioned that, and also you mentioned about the props. Very well done about that. And this descriptive language was also mentioned, and that makes the speech interesting. Instead of I see, I saw, you have the descriptive language. Thank you very much, Leah, our Vice President membership. Hey, now we come to our third speaker, Luciano. And he planned and implemented organizing dinner with friends. And he will be assessed or evaluated by Nelly, a highly respected evaluator, upcoming evaluator. And she will tell us how this dinner was organized. Over to you, Nelly.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. Hello, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and especially Luciano. You excelled at articulating your message. You started with a rhetorical question and it engaged us. You prepared on how you prepared dinner for your friends. You went step by step, you visualized it. Then you planned where it will be and the different spaces that are going to be used in your house. You planned the menu and you actualized it. You had very good vocal variety. In fact, you excelled at the vocal variety. Your pace was good and your rate also. You had good pitch and good voice intonation. You excited us, the audience. I like that you gave step by step about your dinner, how you wanted your guests to be in a space where there's books so they can read. Then there was a space for where others took wine and a veranda for others to relax. You applied project management skills. It also showed me that this is not the first time you're organizing dinner. You've become an expert at organizing things. You applied the lessons you've learned in project management in doing your dinner. You may want to challenge yourself not to thank people at the end of your speech. Saying thank you is a weak ending. Try and reinforce your message by your key message in planning and implementation. You asked me to look out for pauses. Challenge yourself to use pauses. I did not notice any pauses in your speech. Your speech flowed very well, but without pauses. In conclusion, you were excelled at articulating step by step of how you organize dinner for your friends. I would like to ask you to incorporate pauses in your speech. All in all, your speech flowed very well and was very engaging. You showed good, responsible leadership by planning your work and working your plan. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Nelly, thank you very much for the detailed evaluation about the speech about Luciano organizing the dinner with the friends. You made a few repetitions of his speech instead of maybe evaluating what you heard, what you observed about that. And step by step about his planning that you repeated again. So I challenge you now to evaluate the speech, instead of repeating it. Nevertheless, also the week ending, you mentioned about the week ending, there was no actual call to action from Luciano. And also that you mentioned about incorporating the pauses from Luciano. Otherwise, your evaluation was tops. Thank you very much. Very well done. Let us all take a deep breath while the Zoom master launches the poll for the best evaluator. And I am sure that will be an extremely difficult choice today. Over to you. Oh, it's launched already. Go ahead. Let's take a few moments with a deep breath. While we do that, I ask Jyoti, please, to post the times of, or has she done that already? Entered into the chat box. Thank you very, oh, she's given me thumbs up, so she's done that already. Thank you very much for that. And our grammarian, we talk now about our grammarian. Guerdah, our grammarian has analyzed your language, your English language in depth and is prepared to share her insights.
Yes.
With the word of the day.
Word of the day, yeah, I've heard it like 10 times during the whole
Just
meeting.
a moment, just a moment. I have not quite finished it. Thank you very much for stepping up, Guerdah, Guerdah, and I'm eager to hear your observations. Over to you.
Yes, so it's about like 10 times that I've heard integrity. It's not that much, but what I liked mostly Luisa when she said it's nothing wrong with your content, simply the judge didn't like it. And also, what do you want people to have this, what you control? Terrence's best way to control then is to anticipate them. The best way to control them is to anticipate them and also give it another try, come back and take the risk. Thank you so much. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Guerdah, for your evaluation and your feedback about the theme and about the word of the day. Leah, just a reminder, please post the guest book again into the chat box. I'm sure we've still got 27 attendees. I'm sure that there are quite a lot of visitors that would like to. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I shall give my general evaluation and what I have observed. Thank you again for the talented and self-directed role players. Each of us contributes to this leadership journey. And today's members, they come from India, Africa, Guyana, United Arab Emirates, Europe, America, and Canada. Wow, we all belong to the crew of this leadership. Thank you. You have been instrumental, no, I would say trailblazers, to the success of this meeting. And I particularly wish to highlight, our Guerdah Bram. Congratulations. You did a fantastic job, warmly welcoming and greeting our members and guests with your cheerful smile. Great gestures in greeting the members and visitors in the chat afterwards when the meeting had started already. It is this exciting first connection, a powerful bond that leaves lasting impressions, gripping the audience's attention and maintaining their interest, igniting their curiosity to learn more. Our Sergeant at Arms, Nicole White. Hey, thank you for beginning the meeting promptly, reading the disclaimer, the club mission, the leadership statement, and then initiating the recording. Our Zoom master, I think it was Irene. I appreciate your swift identification of the speakers, role players, evaluators, and promptly highlighting them when needed. Our timer, Yoti, your timing was exact, promptly. Thanks for sharing the times in the chat box. And the meeting began promptly and was expertly led by our Toastmaster of the day, Praron. Hey, he had a beautiful smile. Thank you, keeping it up. And today, we observed an impressive partnership between our speakers and their evaluators, resulting in a dynamic and impactful experience. I sincerely thank the evaluators for their valuable constructive feedback, and I'm sure our speakers are excited to incorporate your suggestions to improve their performances. I will conclude my evaluation segment here, but before that, I want to, before I hand control back to the Toastmaster of the day, I thank Baron also for encouraging the members, the visitors, to sign the guest book, and especially finding replacements for our greeter, for our toast raiser and grammarian at such short notice. Well done. Give him a big hand. And now I return my control back to you, Toastmaster of the day, Baron. And he's still smiling. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Hannah. It is a pleasure, it is a privilege, and it is an honor. And the fact that I get the thrill of being on the stage, of being the Toastmaster of the day, of engaging everybody, and seeing all the action of the speakers, the evaluators, up close and personal. It is a pleasure. If I didn't live in the moment for it, I would be at a loss. So thank you so much for the acknowledgement as well, and for the feedback that you've given to myself, the speakers, evaluators, and all the role takers in today's meeting. and we'll continue in stride with that information. At this point, we have a special somebody for a special role that is almost exclusive to Leadership Speak. And that role is the thought of the day. The thought of the day, well, I will not give it away, but the thought of the day will be delivered by our Toastmaster, Guerdah Al-Majakish. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, as Shanicia said, we can't control others if we can control ourselves. And as Baron said also, how much responsibility do we have determines how much power is in our hand. When I reflect on the responsibility of a leader, I am reminded of the essential role of that empathy plays in responsibility in leadership, and particularly in moments of pressure. A team member missed a critical deadline. My first reaction was frustration, but I made the conscious decision to pause and ask myself what kind of a leader I want to be in this moment. This pause allowed me to shift from reacting emotionally to responding intentionally. Instead of confronting, I invited a conversation. Please help me understand what happened. It wasn't just a justification, it was kind of a genuine sharing of hardship, personal, that they were managing quietly. We lead in intention, with intention and integrity. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster and General Evaluator. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Guerdah. Oh, spotlight should be coming to me. Thank you, Toastmaster Guerdah. A standout point from what you said, as was highlighted from the meeting, for me was a lot of, it's either emotion or intention. Are you coming from a point of emotion, or are you coming from a point of intention? So the way you have put the thought of the day was exquisite. Thank you so much. Now, the Zoom master was being very proactive, so I will give it to her. Next, we have our president having a conversation with you, the guests. So if you are able to, as a guest, you can turn on your video, you can put up your virtual hand and have a conversation with DTM Bram Memon.
Thank you very much, Baron. Excellent the way you conducted the meeting, especially taking on the last minute, raising the toast as well. Dear guests, if you wish to speak with me, please put on your videos. I see that we don't have many guests left. We had about 48 or 49 people at the peak that probably mostly here for the panel discussion, which was a great panel discussion, by the way. Great takeaways. And I know that a number of our members want to be with some of the top speakers globally. And so this was a great opportunity for them to listen to world champions of public speaking. And we will continue to invite either in panels or to deliver keynotes here or in our podcasts to speak more. I think most of our guests who I needed to speak to are not here, but I would like to invite Leah Musunga, if she's still here, to sort of come and speak to the guests. Leah, are you there? Awesome.
Yes,
Hi, Leah. How are you?
I'm still here. Hello.
So, you know, we have a guest here, Leah, who is, whose name is Ganade Mzee, is from Tanzania. So you could speak to him in Swahili.
Oh, I wish. I only know Hakuna Matata. I don't even know if that's Swahili.
And then there's Nelly Kimani, who speaks Swahili, but from Kenya. And so when I call up your name, you can put on your videos. Who would you like to speak to, Leah, here today?
We can start with Guerdah. I'd also put them on my list. Hello, Guerdah. I hope you are able to switch on your video. How did you find our meeting today?
Thank you very much, Leah. The meeting was really excellent. There were a lot of insights coming from the speakers, a lot of great themes, and I really enjoyed the experience here. In comparing with my experience in the Masaki's Executive Toastmasters Club, you guys are at very high levels. And I had a lot of insights actually and learnings to take from this meeting.
All right. So are you interested in joining our club?
Yeah, I'm still thinking about it, and perhaps in the near future, I will really consider joining the club.
All right. But visiting is always an option, so we'd like to encourage you to continue coming to visit.
Thank you. I will always be visiting.
All right. Nice chatting with you. So I think we also had Nelly, if I'm, let me just check if the person
Nelly
is still.
Kimani.
Is she still? Oh, there we are. All right. You're still here.
Hello. I'm a visiting member. I keep visiting when I can. For me, I'm a visiting member. Yeah, so I particularly enjoy this meeting so much when I can, and especially the evaluations. I was even glad to come in during the panel. At least today I came in a bit early, so the panel I've been listening to Louisa, and one thing I realized, she speaks the same thing always: be authentic, be authentic. So I liked also today's theme, that responsibility, be authentic. It's be intentional and not emotional. My greatest takeaway. I mean, I take away so many things from this meeting, and sometimes I even go back to the YouTube for the things that I have missed or the things that I want to listen to again. I enjoy. I'm a visiting member. Yeah.
We need to convert that visiting member to actual membership so you can also get the other benefits of being part of an advanced Toastmaster club. Hoping you will definitely convert that.
Your president, he challenged me. He told me at the end of the year, Toastmasters year, what do you want to achieve? And I keep asking myself, that's the thing I need to be asking myself. What do I want to achieve? You know, so he challenges me every time I come, every time. So today I'm glad he's not thrown another challenge. Yeah. But I'm glad. I'm always glad. It's an honor to be here. I'm just hoping he
We
won't.
always like to challenge. No worries. Nelly, don't you worry.
Yeah.
I'll wash my hands and come after you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
Well, all right. I think we have another guest, Abdul. I think you must be a guest, if I'm not mistaken.
You know your members.
Yes, I am a guest, and it's been a long time. I was watching Netflix and suddenly checked my email, and I thought, wow, it's happening now. But unfortunately, I got late when the General Evaluator started. But I made a note of the date and time. I put my email so I can get notification. I've enjoyed the little part which I have. I'm a member of District F, District 32, District 107, and District 79. Totally 5 clubs. I enjoy the variety and I enjoy the creativity, which I think it's existing in this club. And obviously, I'm a big fan of DTM Brown. And next time, I'll make sure I'll join at the beginning. And if I like what I see, I will make it my 6th club to join.
Yes, add District 86 to your list of districts.
Exactly.
And like Nelly said, we do have a YouTube channel, so you can always, what you missed, you can go to the YouTube channel and you'll be able to watch up on all that transpired today, and even our previous meetings. Everything is available on our YouTube channel. I think just search for Leadership Speak, and you'll be able to see today's meeting. I think it should be available maybe in a couple of hours, but you will definitely see all our previous.
I made a note of it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
All right. No, thank you so much for coming to visit. Thank you. And I think that would be the last. Oh, someone is saying we are live streaming even right now. So you can go there and rewind. I think that's how it works. Maybe my technology is not too great. But yeah, I think we're live streaming, so you can go there, rewind, and actually see what has been missed. So yes, to everyone else, in case you have missed anything, can go to YouTube and check out what is happening. Maybe one of our Zoom masters can just throw the link in the chat so people can easily click there and rewind and watch maybe what they would have missed. Other than that, thank you to all our guests. Hoping to see some of you convert, hoping to see some of you decide what you want to do for the year. I'll now hand over for, I guess, the final closing remarks from our Toastmaster. Oh, I thought I was handing over to the Toastmaster of the day.
Yes, absolutely. Let's have the Toastmaster of the day here as well. You know,
Okay.
what an amazing job, Baron. Very well done. So, so Baron, I know that you will be studying on Saturdays going forward, and so we won't be seeing you much around on Saturdays, but wish you all the best in your studies and all the support that you need. We are here to support you along your journey. So thank you so much for doing a great job today. Over to you, Baron.
Thank you so much. Thank you dearly. And I will definitely be the main person on the YouTube live stream after every class that I have. Thank you, Leah. And thank you, everybody who has been with us today. We are left with only 3 things on our agenda. One is adjourning the meeting, which is not yet. It's just a minute from now. 2 is going to be our Toastmaster, our Zoom, our PR master, sharing the certificates of who our better speaker and our better evaluator were today. So Toastmaster Terrence, are you ready? Perhaps you can give me the signal when you are. Toastmaster Terrence, are you ready? Oh, yes, perfect, right there, right on time. Ladies and none other than Felix. Our best Toastmaster Shanicia, Bellamy, and what is interesting is one was evaluating the other. Isn't that incredible? Thank you and congratulations. Now, as we get to the tail end of today's meeting, I just want to remind us, I just want to retort. Leadership isn't about having all the answers. Rather, it is in owning how we respond. Multiple books have been written about this. Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and the one I mentioned earlier, which is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Multiple books have been written about this. So as we step into the new week, the call to action is let's pause, let's reflect and ask ourselves in any situation, how am I responding right now? And that how being, what is this happening? How should I respond? Why should I respond? All those key questions, the 5 W's and H, right? With that being said, let's be leaders who rise to the occasion, but not just rise to the occasion. Let us be intentional about why that occasion needs us, what impact we bring to the occasion, what difference we bring to the occasion, and in that way we shall be purposeful and responsible leaders with high levels of responsibility. If we show up to things that don't matter, that also says something about our level of responsibility. And if we show up to things that make all the difference, well, you have your answer, Toastmasters and guests. With that being said, thank you to all the role takers, thank you to all the guests, and thank you to everybody who attended. I now pronounce this meeting adjourned. Zoom Master, you can end the recording as well as the YouTube live stream. The floor is open for all other engagements.